All right. Um, how's everyone doing? Good? Awesome. My name's Ismael Cuevas. I am a member of the Chicago Mobility Collaborative, and I'm happy to be here today. My colleague Ruth and I actually took a Metra from Union Station. I got off here at Montclair and then took a divvy bike on the way here. So it was a pretty. How long did it take? Honestly, we were just talking the whole time, so it doesn't matter. It was fast. I work for Amtrak, so like distances are like very weird for me now. Like I have to take the train from Chicago to North Dakota or the train from Chicago to Texas, and it's like it's all relative, you know. Like if I take the red line or the green line, it's all relative now. But bienvenidos a los que están aquí, no hablan inglés. Va a haber traductor. Yo me llamo Ismael Cuevas, soy miembro de la colaborativa de movilidad aquí en Chicago. Y muchas gracias por estar aquí el día de hoy. So welcome to Reese Park. We're thankful for the Park District and the staffers for putting on this event, for helping us organize and collaborating with us on getting this space. So thank you all to the Chicago Park District for helping us. I also want to acknowledge some of our few elected officials who are here. I see Alderwoman Cruz here. Thank you for coming. For those of you who may be the first time that they're around an elected official, it's really important to have your elected officials come to these types of community meetings. I show that they're engaged, it shows that they care about the community, and it shows that they care about what your voices are and what you want to say. So thank you so much for coming here. And Reese Park is in the 30th Ward, so thank you so much for helping with all this as well. And then Alderman Cardona, I don't think he's here yet. And then Chris from, thank you for coming. And Chris from Alderman Villegas' office, back there as well. So thank you all for coming to tonight's meeting. I just want to go over some really quick things. So there's also staff here from the Pedestrian and Traffic Safety Committee. There's representatives from the CTA, CDPH, and DPD tonight as well. So if any of you belong to any of those committees, just raise your hand so folks can see you. So we're gonna go over. Let me go over some of the slides really quick, or just kind of like so we can go over what our meeting goals are for today. So if anyone can, there's always technical issues. 3 years after COVID, but we're still figuring it out, right? Okay, so while that loads up, so here's our agenda: welcoming community voices, CDOT updates, knowledge sharing presentations, so measuring equity with community-centered approaches, community table overview, community tables breakout conversations. We're going to regroup. It's going to be a call to action, and then we're going to close the meeting. And just so you all know, this meeting is being recorded live, so thank you for the folks who are tuning in today. I really appreciate it. So there's that. One of the Chicago Mobility Collaborative goals that we have is to establish a forum for meaningful conversation and participation where collaboration is encouraged, learning is facilitated, partnerships are fostered, and where Chicagoans have a voice in the decision-making that impacts them. And in a former career, I used to work for the city of Chicago, and these types of initiatives are really important, right? And I'm really happy to see young folks on this side of the room who are coming to this meeting to participate because the city needs to hear your voice. So give it up to the folks on that side for coming. I know I'm putting you on the spot, but it's really important for your elected officials and for the people who work at City Hall and the different departments across the city, the county, the state and government to hear your voices. I know you think it might be minute, but it really, really matters for you all to be here. So thank you so much. And I'm gonna just set the ground rules for tonight's community conversation. So here are our community agreements of engagement. So number one, listen actively to understand other views and perspectives. I know it's really hard for people to listen because they all want to talk, but listen, it's okay. One person speaks at a time. Seek clarity, avoid making assumptions. Be accountable for your words and their impact. Remember, your experience is valuable and unique, and it's also worth sharing. And provide constructive criticism of ideas and projects, not of individuals. So don't pick at each other, pick at the idea. Does anyone want to add another ground rule to this list? All right. So now we'll hear from Chris Katufari. I hope I said that correctly. A Belmont Cragen resident who will be officially welcoming us to your community. Thank you.
Thank you. How's everyone doing tonight? I'm not feeling it. How's everyone doing tonight? Yeah, that's much better. I like that. I like this energy. I like how positive and energized everyone is right now. So from deep down in my heart, I want to first off say thank you for everyone to taking time out of your day. I know this is an important event for me and everyone who lives in Chicago and Belmont Cragen area. It means a lot to me to coming out, and I just want to say thank you. And everyone who has came out, again, thank you. I just want to say I am a Belmont Cragen resident who's been living there for almost his entire life, for almost 27 years, going on 28. And I just have been very impactful in my community and want to just have more people to come in and just do as much work as possible so we can do this together and try to get more missions done so it benefits all of us as people and as residents of Chicago. So again, I want to say thank you, and I will be passing it on to Alderwoman Ruth Cruz. Thank you again.
Had to bring my notes. It has been a long day, but welcome everyone. I hope we're all excited. We got to put our thinking caps on this evening so we can be creative and make sure we bring those ideas, and you have my commitment to work hard as well to bring those ideas alive. But again, thank you for joining us at a beautiful Reese Park and for the quarterly meeting for the Chicago Mobility. Today gathering bring residents together with CDOT to discuss our collective vision and other agencies as well to help us build a safer, equitable, and more accessible transportation system for everyone. So again, thank you for being here to contribute to unique ideas. Again, yourself to any ideas, voicing your thoughts, and for being a part of this process. Again, thank you. So again, welcome again. If you have an opportunity, walk around this beautiful park and say hello to our neighbors. Thank you. And then now, Chris, where are you? Oh, here we go, Ishmael.
Do any folks from Alderman Cardona, Alderman Villegas want to say a few words?
So on behalf of Alderman Cardona, I had a previous engagement. I'm here. Who should have been here should have been Alma, but she, as I said, she had to rush her mom to the hospital. But I'm glad I'm here representing the aldermen. I'm glad to see the turnout. And what Chris said sparked something to me, which was I grew up in Belmont Cragen since 1974. And I told Jeremy that my wife and I bought 2 bikes from Sears, went bike riding on Fullerton, almost got sideswiped, and never rode our bikes again. So I'm hoping that this meeting works out at the very end to where that doesn't happen and the roads are safer. And they are becoming more and more safer, but thanks to collaboratives like this. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. And now we have Chris from Alderman Villegas' office.
I'll keep this short. I work for Alderman Gilbert Villegas' office here in the constituency over at Bricktown. Want to thank you so much for participating in this event. What you are participating is what I would consider advanced citizenship, and that's something that we must take part in to keep accountable both our city government but also our elected officials, so that you demand a better government, a better workforce, a better flow of conversations between both who are citizens and then those who are elected officials. So I do appreciate your time for being here.
And one last thank you. I just want to thank our interpreters who are here. So thank you all for doing all the work that you do. And up next is David Smith, who will give us updates for the Chicago Department of Transportation.
Thanks. Hey everybody, good evening. David Smith from the Chicago Department of Transportation. Really appreciate everybody coming out here tonight. Stand in front of there. Belmont Cragen is really one of my favorite communities in the city of Chicago. We've developed an amazing partnership with Jeremy and Jason at the Northwest Center and a number of community stakeholders and the Youth Council, and it's been really impactful and really powerful. I think particularly what the Northwest Center is doing in Belmont Cragen is a model for communities all across the city, and we really appreciate the partnership, and we want to keep that going, keep our foot on the gas, and keep things moving. I'll be around for the whole meeting. If anybody has any questions about specific projects or specific updates that I don't get to, please grab me. I'll just be floating around different tables, but please let me know if there's anything that you want to talk about. 2023 has been a really incredible year in Chicago when it comes to complete streets and safe streets infrastructure. If we talk about biking in particular, this has been really one of the most amazing years in my opinion, and I think the data and the facts bear that out. In terms of infrastructure, in terms of the number of people riding, who's riding a bike, the expansion of how people are getting around with e-bikes and cargo bikes and scooters. It's changing so quickly and it's growing so quickly. And the amount of interest at the grassroots level has just exploded. Community bike rides all over the city. That's going to be the topic of one of the tables. So this year has been incredibly exciting, and by working together in forums like this in partnership, I think that we're able to keep things moving bigger, better, and faster, and really the momentum, we've got the wind at our backs and we need to keep going. Something that we've been really proud of this year was the release of the Chicago Cycling Strategy in the beginning of 2023. And that really set the foundation for how we're going to aggressively expand the bicycle network all across the city, and working really at two very different scales. Citywide, so all 77 communities, 120 plus neighborhoods, but also at the neighborhood level. And Belmont Cragen is a perfect example of how we've partnered that, and we really piloted that neighborhood bike network effort, started with the Youth Council, high school students coming to us saying, we want to bike more, we need safer streets, and we met together, and I've told this story before, but met with Jeremy and others, and the big idea was 5 miles of projects. We said that's not good enough, we can do more. We ended up doing 15 miles of projects in Belmont Cragen in one summer. And so that really speaks to the power of what we can do together, and a really focused effort in moving things forward and moving our city forward. The Neighborhood Bike Network process started in Belmont Cragen in 2021. We've moved down into the Austin community, North Lawndale, down into South Lawndale. This year, we've installed about 5 miles of neighborhood bike routes in South Lawndale alone. We're continuing that south across the Shipping Canal into the Brighton Park and Gage Park, McKinley Park community. So we've been partnering with stakeholders on a similar process, and it's been really powerful. Just on the west side in the last 2 years, we've installed over 50 miles of bike lanes that never existed, and most of these communities that I mentioned had very little in terms of infrastructure. So it's really an incredible growth in a short amount of time. That strategy of really thinking about biking in terms of a network, breaking down ward boundaries, breaking down other types of barriers, is really the secret and the key to moving this forward. We're doing the same thing on the far north side of the city, working with the 40th Ward, 48th Wards, 49th and 50th Wards to develop a comprehensive network that crosses ward boundaries, connects Lakefront to the North Shore Channel Trail. And that effort really was inspired by the work we did in Belmont Cragen, and is continuing to grow. We're continuing that south as well. On the north side, we're doing the same work in the Lake Calumet region on on the southeast side of the city, identifying, a network of streets. We're no longer talking about one street at a time. We're talking about an entire connected network. This year, really huge on the infrastructure side when it comes to biking. This will be the biggest year in Chicago's history in terms of total mileage of bike infrastructure, total mileage of protected bike lanes, total mileage of neighborhood bike routes, and then really those high impact projects that are really big changes to the street. We've had more this year underway and upcoming even in the remaining few months than ever before. And of all the work that we've done this year, we've already implemented, we're getting close to 40 miles of projects that have been completed or underway today. We'll exceed 50 miles by the end of the year. Over 80% of those are protected bike lane projects and neighborhood greenways. That's something that we outlined in the cycling strategy. We include a map of the next 150 miles of projects, and 85% of those will be protected bike lanes and neighborhood bike routes. In terms of protected bike lanes, we recently installed a really exciting project on Kedzie and Augusta, those are basically upgrades to what were buffered bike lanes or existing traditional bike lanes. We've converted those to protected bike lanes, and immediately we're seeing really positive results. We did some data collection on both of those streets. On Kedzie, instantly we've seen about a 90% reduction in people driving over 30 miles per hour. So by changing the design of the street, reworking the infrastructure, lowering the speed limit, the posted speed limit, now people are driving at a much safer street. The street is much safer to cross for people walking, and a much more comfortable street for people biking. On Augusta, similar results, 35% reduction in people driving over 30 miles per hour and a huge increase in the number of people driving 20 miles per hour or below. So that really speaks to the power of these types of projects. It's not just about creating a bike lane or making it, providing space for someone biking. It's about making the streets safer and more accessible for everybody, no matter how you're getting around. On Central Park in the Garfield Park neighborhood, we've got an amazing protected bike lane project that's underway right now from Franklin Boulevard down to Madison. This goes through the Garfield Park Conservatory and into Garfield Park. There's raised crosswalks, pedestrian bump outs, curb protected bike lanes. That'll be completed within the next month or so. We've got a new project on Dearborn, which some people have seen, north of Kinsey, extending a protected bike lane from Kinsey up to Chicago Avenue. Includes some really nice improvements at the Dearborn and Chicago Avenue intersection, which if you've biked through there, that's been a problem in the past. Bike signals, really reworking the entire configuration of the street. It's going to be a huge improvement. That construction started in the last week or two. Clark Street in the Edgewater neighborhood has been under construction. Transit boarding islands, new pedestrian crossings and refuge islands, curb protected bike lanes. That project will be completed by the end of October. And we had another really cool project start in the last month on Blue Island between Roosevelt and 18th Street, protected bike lane connecting Roosevelt down to the Pilsen community in the southwest side of the city. And many other protected bike lane projects underway. This is a huge focus of ours going forward, and we're going to continue to deliver on these projects. We've got a number of exciting neighborhood greenway, neighborhood bike route projects underway. Levitt is a big one between Milwaukee Avenue and Lindale, but then also from the Lathrop Homes at Diversey all the way up to Berwyn, which all of those combined is about 4 miles. It'll be the longest neighborhood bike route in the city of Chicago. That's under construction right now. As I mentioned, we completed about 5 miles of neighborhood greenways in Little Village, 28th Street, 30th Streets, Keeler, Hamlin, really creating a connected network across the community, getting us down to the canal, and we're going to be extending that across the canal and under the Stevenson next year. High impact, what I would call high impact projects, a number of these underway. We've got a protected bike lane that's being installed through a resurfacing project on Jackson in the West Loop or west of downtown. That's underway right now. Jackson is in IDOT, or Illinois Department of Transportation, jurisdiction streets, so we've partnered with them. That's a huge part of going forward, partnership with the state DOT and implementing safe streets infrastructure on state jurisdiction streets. That's underway right now. We're working on designs for several other protected bike lanes on IDOT jurisdiction streets that'll be coming online in the next couple of years. Milwaukee Avenue, between North to Armitage, we had a really amazing community meeting over the summer. Some of you guys may have been there. We had over 200 people at the meeting, waiting line out the door to get in. Incredible support. High impact project, parking consolidation to one side of the street, protected bike lanes, pedestrian improvements, street resurfacing. That'll be starting in the next couple of weeks. That's going to happen this year. The Belmont corridor, tons of improvements, particularly western to Kimball, connection to the 312 River Run, transit improvements, bike improvements, pedestrian improvements. That's all been underway. A really cool design at the Kedzie and Belmont intersection was called a protected intersection, where two protected bike lanes meet. That's been underway, and if you've ridden through there, you've seen the changes. You can really start to see how much of a huge difference this makes on a street like Belmont, where we had a ton of speeding, people driving 50, 60, 70 miles per hour. You really can't do that anymore with the new street design. It's a much safer street and a much more accessible and enjoyable street for everybody. We've got the Grand Avenue project. We've had a couple of meetings. Some of you guys were probably at those meetings. This is a reconstruction project from Damon Avenue to Chicago, maybe about a mile and a half or so. And we're implementing protected bike lanes, like 20 or so raised crosswalks, new traffic signals, a ton of pedestrian improvements. This is going to be really a transformational project and really set the stage for extending that northwest to Humboldt Park and connecting into Belmont-Cragen. We've done some work in Belmont-Cragen over the last couple of years. We have a protected bike lane along Hanson Park. That'll be getting concrete curbs in the next couple of weeks. We've done work on Grand down to Armitage, but Grand Avenue can really be that cycling corridor from Belmont-Cragen all the way down to downtown, and we're chipping away at it. We're making it happen, and the project from Damon to Chicago is really a huge transformation and a huge part of getting that done. We've got concrete curbs going in, all of our protected bike lanes. By the end, we're on track this year to complete over 20 miles of that. This year, really the most aggressive, fastest program of any city in the country. And it's really making a huge difference. You're seeing the curbs pop up all over the place. In terms of pedestrian improvements, there's so much going on. We have a really great effort in Belmont-Cragen around Hanson Park. We've got 3 or 4 schools all within the area around Hanson Park. We've got raised crosswalks that are going to be starting in the next couple of weeks, pedestrian curb extensions that have been underway, pedestrian refuge island, lowered speed limits, all of this within an area that has a ton of students walking to school, parents, staff, getting around. And we've got a number of other elementary schools and high schools that we've targeted pedestrian improvements around, Portage Park Elementary also being one of them. On the transit side, a lot of good stuff happening. There's going to be a table, one of the tables talking about bus rapid transit and transit improvements. The CTA's received money and to really hone in on a handful of corridors where we can target for robust transit improvements over the coming years. So all very exciting. I'll cut it there. I'm probably way over time, but I could keep going on and on. But if you have any questions about specific projects, want more information, or just want to talk about infrastructure, complete streets, safe streets policy in general, please grab me. I'll be here. And again, really appreciate all the folks from Belmont-Cragen with the continued partnership, and appreciate everybody coming out tonight.
Before I introduce the next speaker, how many folks here is the first time coming to a CMC CDOT meeting? Awesome. So you're joining the big group of folks who are coming to these meetings across the city. There's a third meeting. The first one was at Garfield Park. McKinley Park, then in Inglewood, and now in Belmont Cragen. So we're touring across the city. So welcome to the club if it's your first time to these meetings. I just want to introduce Margarita Reina with CDPH, who will be talking about, who will give a presentation about knowledge sharing. So thank you.
Here? Okay. It's so wonderful to be here. I know many faces. This is my first meeting in this setting. I have 3 kids, so it's a little hard, and I know I see some kids here, and I'm so happy to see all you young people, because you guys are what we need to make the difference. So I'm so happy. I also want to thank Dave Smith and Romina Castillo, who we've known for a long time. Romina and I worked very hard about 10 years ago, Safe Routes to School, when she was in Enlace, with a lot of partners, and we kept in touch, and I'm so glad that we're working back together. But as a senior epidemiologist at the health department, I do a lot of data to serve communities. I worked a lot, of course, during COVID, and gave, I see many faces that I see in these presentations for data for COVID cases, hospitalizations and deaths, and vaccine equity, and all of other stuff. I've been working really hard with the Northwest Center as a part of the Healthy Chicago Equity Zones, which, of course, the Northwest Center is the regional lead for the Northwest side, and I live in Albany Park, so that's my region. So I'm really happy to see all the faces here. I'm going to do really quickly some slides, because I think it's really important to really bring public health and transportation and and how we come together, and it takes all of us to really to reduce traffic fatalities, to reduce serious injuries, and to make our communities much safer, right? So we talk about bicycling and pedestrian safety and transit, like getting to transit and everything like that. But we also have to think broadly, because as a parent of 3 young children, for some families, it's not easy to walk to school if there's some violence in the neighborhood, or some folks might choose to drive if they wanted to walk, right? Or not ride their bike. So we need to think of things in the community, and I have my I don't know why it's not really working, but it's okay. But I want, at the end of the slide, I'm going to be here at the end if anyone wants to talk to me. The presentation has my phone number and email. Very easy to get a hold of. My name is Margarita Reina. You can find me on LinkedIn, or you can just type my name, City of Chicago, and I'm sure my email would pop up. But I think the other, didn't work. So I wanted, oh, no. So I wanted to, before. So just like this. So this is, these are hit and runs that happened for traffic fatalities for 3 years. So if you notice over here, 19 is Belmont Cragen over here on the northwest side. Fortunately, it's not as bad as other areas, but there should be no hit and runs, like none. So I know that a lot of folks are working on this. Oh, I forgot to mention the work that we've done with the Northwest side. I want to uplift this amazing individual that I work very closely with in the equity zone work, and his name is Ruben Olivares, and he unfortunately passed away in January of last year. He was a very good friend of mine that we worked really hard to get vaccines into the arms of this community. And I want to share that this community, Belmont Cragen, was the first community area with the highest coverage in the whole of Chicago. It's amazing. So thank you so much for all your hard work. And just so you know, the new vaccine just came out, and the health department will publish, we're having free vaccine clinics at city colleges and all these things. So if you have questions, let me know. So I put this map up, and this on the side, you just see Belmont Cragen. Those are fatal and non-fatal shootings. That's part of the violence reduction dashboard that's up publicly. Also, if any of you young people need to know this information, I do this data academy. I call it a data leadership academy, and so I do it with young people to train them how to get all that data that's on our website so they can tell their story better. So it's a matter of like using the data to figure out what you need to change. So the next slide is fine, and I'm talking for like 1 more minute. You can pass the slides, but I want to go on this slide. This will be my last slide because I want us to do this important work. So this slide is about suicide mortality because September is Suicide Prevention Month. So I want to call out, COVID happened, but it's still happening, not as, horrible as it was before. But the map on the left is 3 years of data for suicide mortality by zip code. On the right is 3 years of data, 2020 to 2022. There is a significant increase in suicides. And by zip code, we see here in red where there is more than 40 to 65 suicides in these zip codes. On the left, there is no zip code that is in orange or red because the highest zip code is 27. So on the far right, you see this map looks a lot like those COVID deaths that we had. So we need, and then the next slide, there's just one more slide. I'm sorry. One slide. Oh, the last slide. Unfortunately, this is more prevalent in males versus females. So on this chart up at the top, those suicides from under 25 years of age, so 24 and younger, there was 121 in the city of Chicago in those last 3 years, and almost 50% were in the Black non-Latinx group. And then I want to call this last chart, this is only males for these race groups, compared the 3 years before COVID and then COVID 2020 to 2022, we saw an increase of 30 or more for Latinx and Black males over those time periods. So that is something that you can't ignore, but we know if you ask people in communities that are affected, it's just, we know this. But I'm so glad we have young people, and it's a call to action. So we have ideas about, social emotional learning and making sure that the health department has places for folks to go if they want to talk to somebody and things like that. So that's it for my data. If people are interested in looking at different types of data, I'm always interested in analyzing things that you want to use. That's it. So I'm going to be available for questions.
Thank you so much. And before we go on to the next segment, if you have any questions for the Chicago Save Ambassadors, they're on this side of the table. A lot of resources. You can take information back to your neighbors, family, a school, church. So make sure to visit their table. Up next is Romina Castillo, who is the brains behind a lot of these things. So thank you so much.
Alrighty. Well, welcome everyone. Again, for those who don't know me, I'm Romina Castillo. I'm the Director of Outreach and Engagement at CDOT. So happy that you all can make it, both in person and also virtually. So thank you all, the ones who are joining through the Zoom meeting. So we're here to have more meaningful dialogues. We don't want you guys to listen to us only. We want to listen to you as well. So we're just going to go ahead and I'll do a quick introduction of what we're going to be discussing today. So if we want to just go to 2 more slides, please. One more. Yeah, right there. So we'll have 4 in-person tables. The first one, which I forgot where exactly it is, but we'll find them. That one, it will be our conversation about better streets for transit. We have been having, over there, Audrey's holding it. This is the 3rd time that we convened this conversation, and we're so lucky to have representatives from MPC, CDOT, and CTA. So we'll be having a great conversation conversation more into how to implement bus rapid transit. I know that is a hot topic right now. A lot of people are interested in how we can improve transit in general across our city. So this will be a great follow-up discussion from the last two meetings. Table number 2, we'll have a conversation about, this is our series Beyond the Bike Lane. And Dave already provided a good overview. We'll talk more about the power of community bike rides and how they can help communities socialize the idea of cycling in their own community, how they can better advocate for infrastructure, also introduce new infrastructure to community members, and just boost community pride in general. So we'll have a conversation about that. We're so lucky to have our friends from the Northwest Center co-facilitate that, also with our Safe Ambassadors. Our Safe Ambassadors help communities organize and convene those bike rides. So you'll learn more about how they work with organizations. Table number 3, that will be our conversation in Spanish. So we'll be meeting over there. And we're gonna dive deeper into the data that Margarita presented previously and have a conversation of how we can create safer and healthier communities, and using Belmont-Cragen specifically as one example, but also just talking about in general across the city. And table number 4, that will be our workshop. We'll be going out, so our table's over here. Again, our friends of Northwest Center will be helping us and guiding a little walk across or around the park. They will highlight a few projects and initiatives in the community. So that will be a fun way to just move around and get some fresh air, and the weather's great today. And now our 5th table, which it's our virtual table, would actually join one of in-person tables. So this is the first time we tried this. So for all of you in the Zoom call, please be patient. We'll have a speaker and microphone, and you'll be able to feel more included in the in-person meeting. So with that, we'll just go and break into tables. Again, we have table number 1 in the back. If you guys can raise your hand, I think Audrey and Mary, yes, over there. We have table number 2 of here, yes, thank you. Table number 3, we're actually be meeting, table number 3, that one. And I'm sorry, table number 2, that will be meeting, I'm sorry, I'm confused. Table number 1 will be meeting behind the stage, yes. So just to break and separate the noise a little bit more. And then table number 4 will be meeting here, and this table will go outside. So let's just do, we're gonna have to cut it a little short because we're running out of time. We wanna be mindful of everyone's time. So let's just say 35 minutes. 35 minutes? Okay. I know it's shorter than their usual 45 minutes, but we want to be mindful of everyone's time so we can reconvene and talk about next steps. So 35 minutes, and I know we might go a little longer, but let's just do it quick and let's have conversations.
All right, folks, we're almost done. We got 15 minutes left. You're next, right? Yeah. Take a seat, find a table, or if not a table, find a chair. Find a chair. We're almost gonna be wrapping up. I know you're all excited to go home and have dinner. All right, folks. Is everybody ready for the next portion? We're going to be closing out. I hope your tables all went well. Jeremy, how'd it go? Awesome. All right, so normally after the group sessions, I know everyone has been making a lot of friends tonight, so after we're done in about 10 minutes, you all will be able to reconnect with your neighbors and your friends. Okay, so normally after we have our group sessions, we always ask some of the folks to come up to the mic and share what they've learned. But because we're running out of time, we're gonna have to skip that section, and your group will have to, we'll figure out how they can report back and include those in the meeting notes and report back for the next meeting. So your group's voices will be heard. The next part that I want to welcome up here, welcome up to the mic is Ruth. So we're going to do, there's 2 calls of action. It's a week without driving and a World Day of Remembrance. But first I want to welcome Ruth Rosas up to the mic.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ruth. I work for America Walks, which is a national organization that focuses on pedestrian and placemaking. And we have, we're partnering with a disability organization in Washington called Disability Mobility Initiative to do a week without driving. And it's going to be October 2nd through the 8th. And basically, this is a national call. It's for transportation professionals and elected officials mostly. Anybody can take it. Some of us live without cars, but this is pretty much to challenge elected officials and people who make decisions to know what it's like to live in their community without a car, because some people don't have that option, because of disability, because of age, etc. They don't have the option to drive in their neighborhood, in their community, and they may face gaps and barriers. And so we challenge elected officials and like mayors, right, aldermen, to do this for a week. If you drive, it's okay, but it's really reflecting about these gaps and what people who are in those positions, like what they have to give up when they can't drive. So anyway, there's like little sheets on your tables where you can read about the initiative and kind of its initiative or its start with disability justice and why it's really important to us. So if you are interested in joining, feel free to visit the website or come talk to me. Thank you.
And I've actually taken Ruth's challenge of not driving, so I've actually been carless for the whole summer. It's been pretty fun. Thank you all. And last but not least, Romina will give us another call to action, and then we'll be closing out.
All right, thank you, Ish. So the second call to action, we have what it's known, the World Day Remembrance, for people who have passed due to traffic violence. In the past 3 years or so, the city has always done some type of event or activity to remember our Chicagoans who have been the victims and also the families who have suffered the losses of their loved ones. So for this year, something that we have been thinking about is collecting stories, narratives, and also messages, not only of course, of any of loss, but also what would you want other Chicagoans to know about traffic safety and what it matters in our city? So we have our ambassadors. If you have already a message in mind, we're happy to record your voice or a video today. But if you're also interested, let us know. We're happy to meet you. If you're at a school, if you want us to come at a school, at a park, we're going to be going around the city and collecting those stories. So we'll provide more information on the website and also through social media. So I just wanted to give everyone a heads up. And so that is our second call to action. If we want to just go to the next slide, we want to remind you, well, first of all, I want to thank you again, everyone, for being here. We want to thank our elected officials and representatives from the 30th, 31st, and 36th wards for being here, and also Reese Park for hosting us tonight. It's a wonderful park. And our next meeting will be Thursday, December 7th. And at the same time, we'll be shifting a little further north to Albany Park. The location is still TBD, but we will most likely be at a school. So that will be a slightly different from our past experiences. So between now and then, we'll be providing the notes from this meeting, the video from this meeting. Please get in touch with us if you have any questions. If you can go one more slide. My information is in there, the information for the meeting's website. And again, we have the ambassadors here. If you have any other questions about programming, resources, we're happy to provide that. And we're running a little late, but there might still be more time for us to answer questions after my remarks. So thank you again, and hopefully we'll see you in December.